Hi, Lisa. Nice to see ya. I have everybody muted just while I do the masterclass, but I am turning on the chat. So if you want to pop in there, you totally can. Say hi. Oh, you have somebody else up here? Make sure you guys write in the chat box so I know who's here. I can see that there's 2 participants on. So I'm just going to give everyone like a minute. It's 7:30 on the dot p.m. Eastern. So I'm just going to give everybody a minute and then we are going to get going. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. We're all good. So we have Sarah and Lisa on right now. I'm just gonna give us a couple more seconds. And yeah. Oh, who's getting your coffee? Oh, awesome. Yeah. I'm so excited. Just I'm gonna turn my phone on airplane mode. So. And hi, Sarah. Nice to see you. So excited that you've been able to jump on. Sarah, if I remember correctly, are you in Ireland? Because if you are, like, kudos to you for being on here at 1 a.m. Or are you in the UK? I think you're from the UK. But let me know. Yeah. Say hi in the chat. So I'm gonna share my screen again here. And if at any time, I'm gonna put the chat box up here. So if at any time you guys can't hear me or whatever, or if there's something wonky on the screen, like please let me know, because I'm gonna be recording this for the replay. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started. Lots of people are from the UK or from Ireland. They were unable to jump on the live, so that's why I'm recording it. So let's get started. So hello everybody, my name is Jillian Parekh and I am a success coach for side hustlers. I work full-time in a government job and have routinely sought out services that fit my needs and my busy schedule. And I've realized how important mindset is for an entrepreneur who also works full-time. So that's how I'm getting myself started, is essentially working as a side hustler and working full-time. I also really enjoy my full-time job. So I have a great time in my full-time job, and I also really love coaching as well. So I get the best of both worlds. So what do I do? So I specialize in helping women overcome imposter syndrome, the imposter syndrome that is holding them back from being their best selves in business. So we're going to talk about what imposter syndrome is first and foremost, and specifically how it affects entrepreneurs like you. And then we'll talk about a couple ways you can implement changes so you can start being the woman that your business really deserves. So grab a water. If you have a notebook, that would be really great so you can write down some of these things. And a candle or anything to get you kind of in the mood for this. So kind of get you into like a high vibe state. And you'll definitely want to take notes, like I said. Awareness is the first step before integration. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what imposter syndrome is. So what is it? Imposter syndrome is the persistent internalized fear of being revealed as a fraud. So people with imposter syndrome may have a hard time internalizing their accomplishments or taking credit for them. So for example, if you've ever accomplished something really big and told yourself it was because you got lucky, the circumstances were ideal, somebody helped you. I don't know if you've done that before, but I definitely have, not only in school, but in work as well. I used to do it all the time. So when it comes to my ideal client personally, which is an entrepreneurial woman and more specifically a side hustler, I find that imposter syndrome creates persistent thought patterns of doubt, lack of confidence in one's abilities, and makes you unwilling to produce content because you may feel like it's been said before, your ideas are unoriginal, and no one will want to buy or use your services. There's also a big focus on rumination here, which is when you think something over and over again. And it's usually an endless track of negative thoughts that create you to be uninspired and unmotivated. So what's a good example of how imposter syndrome actually affects your business? So we're first going to look at my story. So that's me. I'm Jillian Parekh. And let's rewind. Nope, not the slides. Let's rewind to a day when imposter syndrome got the best of me. So it actually started in university, specifically my master's degree. I got into the program and instantly thought to myself, I got in on a whim. They're letting anybody in this program. And then I actually started my master's, and I was in a class where everyone was older than me by at least 5 years, and most of them were 15 to 20 years older than me. So that you would think that that would tell me that I was qualified, that I was really smart, but to me, I was just like, wow, I'm really not supposed to be in this class. Everybody has so much more experience than me. Everybody has so much more to offer, and I probably took somebody's spot who actually deserves it. So imposter syndrome was like ruining that experience for me. So once I knew that everybody was older than me, I questioned my every move. I would procrastinate on assignments because I never thought I was good enough. I avoided the feedback on set assignments because I was so afraid that one of them would say eventually, I don't know how we even got into this program, this is terrible, or something else that would confirm my fears. When the in-class component came, I felt insecure and felt like I had no idea what I was talking about. So I kept silent and never spoke up in class. I kept ruminating. I kept ruminating over the fact that I was this little 23-year-old, because that's how old I was when I started my master's degree, that had no life experience and how everyone was more legit than me. So even after I got my degree, I constantly told myself that I must have gotten the easy way out, even though I graduated with a 4.0 GPA. So even though I graduated with a really great GPA at like the top of my class, for some reason, I still didn't feel qualified enough. This carried into other areas of my life, but especially reared its ugly head when I started my own business. So this is where you guys can relate. For the first year and a bit, I again questioned my every move. I thought to myself, no one would want my services. I was deceiving people with my knowledge, and that the only way I could get someone to work with me is by leading them to believe I was better than I actually was. I procrastinated on doing big projects that would actually help my business and instead focused on menial tasks like updating my Instagram and fine-tuning my logo for far too long. So I focused on those really small tasks that I could control and that I didn't feel like there was a lot of risk to, which we're going to talk about. So I also did that in complete solitude. I was ashamed of the fact that I felt like a fraud. And of course, I didn't want anyone to know. So I pretended like everything was amazing on the outside, which only made me feel more like a fraud. I knew that my business wasn't succeeding in the way that I wanted it to. So I also felt fraudulent talking about it with my friends and family. I thought, am I even a real business if I'm not making money at it? I also had huge issues with clarifying what it is I really wanted to do with life coaching. I rebranded so many times. I spent hours and hours on my website changing services constantly. Nothing felt aligned and nothing felt like I was doing what I was meant to do. I was burnt out and exhausted and felt pretty hopeless about being an entrepreneur. So I did this for months. I knew what imposter syndrome was, but I didn't realize how harmful it was being to my business. It affected every single part. I thought that my problem was the strategy side of business, that I wasn't doing enough. So I was not making enough content, not hustling hard enough, not being on as many podcasts or doing as many takeovers. I was constantly consuming business content and stayed far away from the mindset part of my business. But when I started coaching on imposter syndrome, I realized that I had the answers inside of me. I started focusing on healing myself from the inside out. So working on all the limiting beliefs I had accrued over a lifetime, healing my money mindset, taking a real look at my core beliefs and how they apply to my business, because the way you execute your business is basically a testament to how you execute your life. You have routines and patterns and ways of existing. So if you do something a certain way in your full-time job, chances are it'll carry into your part-time job as well. If you do things or function one way in one part of your life, you're going to repeat the same mannerisms in others. So being a business owner is all about your mindset. If you're not motivating or disciplining yourself on a daily basis, keeping clarity in your vision and knowing what it is and knowing what is going to help your business and what will hinder you, you will fail. I thought for sure that being an entrepreneur meant that business/making money came first and mindset came dead last. And that almost killed my business. I used to think that if a certain practice or strategy wasn't going to make me money, then what was the point? But by neglecting your mindset, you're neglecting your discipline and your drive and your vision. When strategy fails, you need to be able to pick yourself back up again. And if you're staying away from the mindset because you're afraid of what you'll find on the other side, it's going to be a tough go. So now I can scroll. Now we're going to go to the 3 ways that I identified over the last year in which imposter syndrome affected my business to the point of almost ruining it entirely. So the first way is you're afraid to be seen and take action or commit to something for fear of rejection or failure. So this can look like not going live on videos or talking about your services in stories or on IGTV or to other people, even in person, not committing because if you fail and no one shows up, you will feel terrible. But here's a truth bomb for you. You ready? You aren't afraid of the judgment of others. You're not. You're afraid of what you think you'll feel once you are aware of what others will think. And that means that you may feel rejected, outcasted, stupid, unworthy. So let's just let that sink in a little bit. You're not afraid of the opinions of others. You're not. You're afraid of the feelings that you'll have when you know what those people think. So this one can be tricky to identify because for the most part, you can convince yourself that you're not flying under the radar, that you really are putting yourself out there. But Brene Brown said it when she mentioned in her Netflix special that she used to send her articles to the New York Post, I think, instead of the Times. Whatever one was the smaller one, she used to send her stuff to that one. Because she avoided sending her work to the big guns because she didn't think her work was good enough for the big guns. And she feared being rejected by them because it would confirm something about her. And at the end of the day, rejection and failure are at the core of imposter syndrome. So let's first talk about being seen. So what does this mean? This means owning your truth and letting people see the real you. We all have trials and tribulations that make us unique, and we also have things that we don't like about ourselves or our past. We believe that these things make us flawed, but we also believe that by revealing this to others, it will confirm our biggest insecurities. So for example, if I have the belief that I am not good enough and then try to put myself out there and someone says, hey, you actually got this stat wrong or this fact's wrong, I may retreat in my brain to that crusher, which is what Dr. Valerie Young calls it, who is like a lead researcher when it comes to imposter syndrome. So your crusher is that one thing about you that you inherently believe, and you're just waiting for someone to reveal about you. So that's where the piece of imposter syndrome comes from. So so going back to what I said about being afraid of how we'll feel, if I have the belief that I'm stupid and someone reacts to me in a certain way when I put myself out there, I may feel stupid, even if that's not their intention. And that is what I'm trying to avoid because I'm afraid of feeling bad about the fact that I think it's true that I'm stupid. So I stay within my comfort zone. Our fears of rejection and failure start with our core beliefs, which are things we accept without question. We have a belief system about our world, acceptable behavior, family, friends, love, etc. And these can be positive or negative. And they can be very simple. So one of my previous negative core beliefs was that I was stupid as I had stated before, it's pretty simple. And you can see that when I was talking about when I used to be in university and I used to be like, why am I here? I don't deserve to be here. It all went to that core belief of feeling like I wasn't smart enough. Oh yes, so our core beliefs are like magnets. So if I have a negative experience, I'm going to attribute that to my negative core belief. So if I'm doing a live video and someone asks a question I don't know in the comments about the topic that I'm talking about, because I may believe that I'm stupid and I'm not smart or whatever, and I don't know what I'm talking about if I can't answer somebody's question. That's what I'll think, and I'm therefore providing evidence for my core belief. So if I didn't have the core belief of feeling stupid, I may think to myself, I don't need to know everything, or something more positive. But because my thoughts are negative, that is where that experience will be logged. It's just more evidence to my brain as to why my crusher, that I'm stupid, is true. So the next thing we're going to talk about is commitment. So how often have you devalued your services or your time or your products because you didn't want to inconvenience others? Maybe you found yourself thinking that if you lowered the price, you'd get more people, but you also wouldn't have to be as committed because of your fear of under-delivering. If you deal with imposterism, you already don't feel confident in yourself, so it's relieving to take the pressure off by not charging big or requiring a lot of energy from your customers, because you then think that your customer won't expect as much. Have you done this? I totally have done this before. But a big piece of this is the failure and rejection piece. If there's less at stake, there is less to worry about if you screw up. And while fear is a normal reaction to up-leveling in any state of your business, if the fear is rooted in a lack of belief in ourselves and it determines the output of our effort, that's when it needs to change. So with that being said, what can we learn today from this? So from way number one, you're afraid to be seen and take action because of the fear of rejection or failure. We're going to reframe a situation that deals with rejection, and I'm going to teach you how to do a thought record, which is next slide. I'm going to teach you how to do a thought record. A thought record is a tool used in cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's to help change the trajectory of one's thoughts and help you create a more helpful thought pattern. So we have hundreds and hundreds of thoughts a day, and most of them are at a subconscious level, which means we aren't even aware that we're having them. So awareness of some of our more negative thinking patterns can lead our subconscious thinking to be more neutral or more positive. So first we're going to go, so we're going to start with the thought record activity, and the first section is situation. So the first step would be the situation. You can write out these steps if you want in your journal or your notebook or whatever. So we're going to take a situation that I personally dealt with. I had an ideal client who had been following me for quite some time. She engaged with all my content, was super friendly, and seemed to really deal with imposter syndrome herself. After developing an Instagram relationship with her, I pitched to her regarding one-to-one coaching. And this is after she asked me questions and I had given her advice beforehand. Her response was super short. She said, "No, thank you though." Literally what she said, "No, thank you though." And that was it. So the next step would be to rate your emotions out of 100%. So any emotions are valid. For me, I felt 40% embarrassed because I thought I had an amazing connection with this person and that she would definitely want my services. I was 20% angry because she'd been so rude, in my opinion, especially after all the helping I had done beforehand, which was a huge mindset shift for me in being of service to people. And then I was 40% sad and disappointed, and that takes me to my next step. Your next one is immediate thoughts. So the next step is recording your immediate thoughts. So for me, immediate thoughts that came through were, I'm not good at making sales. She must think I'm an idiot. That's why she said no. No one wants to work with me. She doesn't even respect me enough to give me a reason. She must not understand how I can help her. I must not be able to help her. So remember, we have so many thoughts at a subconscious level that we don't even realize it sometimes. Writing these out really make you think about what you're thinking about, and sometimes they will even shock you. So the next step is going to be your hot thought. So we're going to circle the hot thought, which is the one that makes you feel the worst and is most aligned with the negative core belief. Mine would be, she must think I'm an idiot, because as we talked before, one of my negative core beliefs was that I was stupid. So I circled that thought. Then you will go into what evidence do you have for these thoughts. So don't hold back. You can say whatever comes to mind. Mine would look like, people think I'm ditzy, I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, etc. So these are all things that you think that support your hot thought. What's the evidence against these thoughts? So you're then going to flip the script and write down evidence against your hot thought. If this takes you longer than the last category, that's totally normal. For this situation, I could write down that she has taken my advice before and has said how helpful it has been. I have 2 university degrees and worked hard for them, resulting in great marks. I worked my way up in my organization despite a grueling interview process that involves tests, presentations, etc. Now, what is the most neutral way to look at the situation? So you're now going to write down the most balanced, realistic, and neutral way to assess the situation, such as perhaps she was unable to invest in coaching right now. Perhaps she has a coach already. Perhaps she was in a rush and wanted to respond but didn't have time to give a long rationale. Perhaps this is how she communicates, and the list can go on, as you can see. And then you're going to rate your emotions again. So for the last step, you're going to re-rate the emotions you're feeling after looking at the situation from a balanced perspective. For me, I still felt 20% disappointed, which is normal, 30% motivated to push forward, and 60% content by presenting myself with a balanced perspective that that did not include anything that had to do with me and my worth. So the thought records get more easier the more you do them. If you're struggling with a negative internal voice and it's affecting how you execute your business, give this a try and see how you can open your mind to see a broader and more objective perspective to your thoughts. Remember, your thoughts are only true to you. You may believe they are the truth, but you are incredibly biased and have been conditioned by your negative belief system. A lot of the time, our negative thoughts are not reality, but if we continue to think them to the point of beating ourselves up constantly, they become our truth and reality. So how did you guys like that? Pretty cool, huh? So next one is, you take rejection and objections personally. Why wouldn't you? Let's go deeper. So let's take it a step deeper when talking about what happens when you do fail or experience rejection. If you're brave enough to put yourself out there after avoiding for so long, it can really sting when you're rejected. And this can be in any form. You may have slid in someone's DMs and pitched your offer and they didn't respond or said no thanks. You may have inquired about being on a podcast or doing a speaking event and may have been denied. Our old brains categorize this stuff more so than our positive reinforcement, and that's because they're wired to estimate risk at a more heightened level. The same thing happens to your brain and your body, whether you're a caveman fighting a saber-toothed tiger or if you're being rejected by an ideal client. The same stuff happens. You take rejection and objections personally, and that's because the act of rejection feels personal to you, especially as a business owner. So your business is a reflection of your effort, and obviously if someone is rejecting your services, they are rejecting you. I liken this to dating. If they don't want me, there must be something wrong with me. If they don't want my services, there must be something wrong with me. And then depending on where your worth lies, you may attribute the rejection to something you have to change. So the price of your services, the way you do your live videos, what your program covers, etc. But the thing is you're trying to gratify a person who has already said no, and you're moving away from your core beliefs. So polarity happens when you speak your truth and when you offer a service or a product that you are aligned with, and it won't work for everyone. You're trying to satisfy a customer that is not going to buy your service, and if you do change your offer to suit the needs of someone who has already said no, you're going to be moving away from your vision, which will make you feel fraudulent, and that's where the imposter syndrome comes in. And if you don't believe you're an expert in what you're teaching because you keep changing it to suit this customer's needs, it's going to make you feel even more fraudulent. So remember that you're taking this rejection personally because you're making it personal to you. When we talked about core beliefs, I mentioned that your thoughts are magnetized to your core beliefs. And if you have a negative core belief about yourself, such as I'm not good enough and am unlikable, when you're rejected, that is where your brain is going to go. Even if the person gives you another reason, you won't believe them. As I said before, this is the same with dating. If you're insecure about something, you're going to interpret your partner's words and behavior to confirm your insecurities without even knowing the real reason sometimes. As humans, we are meaning makers. So when something doesn't make sense, we try to understand and rationalize it. We create stories and reasons for things. So if someone says no thanks to your service, you're already thinking of reasons as to why they said no. And for women dealing with imposter syndrome, those thoughts catastrophize to the point of them rethinking their entire business identity or business model. So what to do when we're rejected? Let's take an example of pitching an offer, like I did in the thought record example. I present to you the objection template. I've used this with clients in the past when they've experienced rejection, and it's a fantastic way to depersonalize the experience. It's very similar to a thought record, but it's a way for you to process the rejection, no matter how small, and turn it into a learning opportunity rather than a negative experience, which is how we changed the logging of this experience in your brain. This is also a good way for you to track patterns of behavior in your potential clients that provided objections and that didn't lead to a sale. I use it myself, and my type A personality loves being able to track things like this. It will also make bearing the brunt of your rejection less heavy, and again, deviate your thoughts from making it all about you. So the objection template goes like this in this order. Think of the last time you were rejected, whether on a sales call or a DM. So we're going to use the situation I used in the thought record. What was the situation? I pitched to a longtime follower for one-to-one coaching. What were you pitching? The opportunity for her to work with me one-to-one. What did you say? I stated that I knew she had been struggling with X for quite some time and that I hope my tips have been helpful, but I also want to offer her the opportunity to work one-to-one to deepen the work that she was doing. What was their first response to your offer? Was there an immediate objection? Like, I can't afford that right now? Yes, she said, no, thank you though. Dead, hilarious. How did you respond? I actually didn't respond. So I actually wrote, I didn't, LOL, because I didn't respond. Hindsight's 2020. This wasn't like in the very beginning when I started coaching on imposter syndrome, and yeah, not nice. The next part is, what about this conversation can you celebrate? So she did thank me. I had evidence, so with our previous messaging back and forth, that I did help her in the past. So those were some good things. What about this conversation can you learn from? So looking at my initial pitch, I didn't give her any info about the transformation she would have. I didn't hit on pain points. I just said I wanted to deepen her learning when really I wasn't even totally sure what that looked like. One thing you will do differently next time. Respond even if they say no, and depending on the response, respond with answering objections or thanking them for their time and letting them know that the opportunity was available if they so need it. So as a side note, you're not changing your offer. This just means that you're wanting to improve yourself at every opportunity you can. So for example, you can add, like, are you going to ask more questions before pitching? Did you hit a pain point, or did you just go straight into your offer? So that's what I mean when I say, what will you do differently next time? I don't mean change your whole offer. I mean, how will you respond in this situation? So feel free to go back during the replay and write down these questions for your own objection template. And now we're on to way number 3, which is, oh, I am so sorry I didn't put the next slide up for objection template, but there it is. It's very pretty, and my beautiful VA did a wonderful job with the slides. So way number 3, you don't believe that people will want what you're selling. No confidence while selling. So let me paint a picture of you, of a scenario where you have an amazing idea for a product or a service or a program, whatever you want. You do all of the things. So you prepare everything and then you put it out there as an offer, whether that's on an Instagram story, on your feed for a post, you tell a person on the street about it, you put up a flyer, whatever. Who does flyers anymore? And then crickets. You get absolute crickets. Despite the fact that it's only been a short time, you're feeling deflated and defeated because you aren't getting any traction. You feel uncomfortable talking about it and pretty desperate or salesy. And if it's a program, every day closer to the start date is making you itch. So you stop talking about it and you start doing recon. You either rejig it, you change the date, you cancel it altogether, the list goes on. But the reality is the belief in whatever you're selling starts way before you even have the idea. Because when you have the idea, it's a safe zone. You're not actually putting it out there. That's why so many people have these amazing ideas and then nothing ever comes of them, because once you actually put it out there, it's scary and vague and final. So think back to a conversation on commitment. You may half-ass put out a program out there for a group coaching program and be like, yeah, it's for 3 weeks, but don't worry, you can totally watch the videos or not, totally whenever you need them, and it's such an affordable price, like $25. Yeah, it'll be great. Yes, that was me. I charged $25 for a group coaching program, me coaching people. I expected little from my clients because I wanted them to expect little from me, because I felt like a total fucking imposter for even charging them $25 for something I didn't even have confidence in. So obviously it didn't end well. I mean, it ended and I did all the videos and it was fine, but I didn't ask for any feedback from them. It was just a mess. So the root of this is your belief. So belief looks like this. When you show up to a restaurant and order a meal, you believe that you're going to get that meal. You may have expectations around the meal, like it's going to be good. You may know because you've ordered it before, but the reality is you don't exactly know how it's going to be made, who's going to bring it out, what it's going to look like, even if you have a rough idea. So why are we so hell-bent on the exact formula that will be to reach success? When you put out a service, you may be thinking you know exactly how clients will come, what it'll look like, how you're supposed to do it, and then you keep yourself inside of that box. But if you don't believe in what you're offering, you won't be able to win people over, because you won't sound confident or sure of yourself, because you're not. So if you're unclear about the transformation you can offer someone, you will sound insecure and unsure. So let me get clear on this. Your services are as good as you are. The way you articulate yourself is obviously extremely important, but don't confuse your worth with how you can articulate what you offer. There are resources for that. So books, copy editors, practicing selling yourself, you'll get there. But the foundational aspect of anyone who has ever sold to me and that I have bought from was confidence. They were confident and believed in their program and their service, and you could tell through the way they talked about it, either to me directly or on their sales page. They talked about the transformation, the results that I would get, and they were confident that they could get me there. And here's another thing when it comes to belief. Programs and courses and books won't work if we don't believe in ourselves. Nothing is a magic pill. You can't read a strategy and become an overnight success. You have to genuinely believe you can do it, and that includes genuinely believing in what you're selling and genuinely believing in yourself. Like if you think about all that self-help stuff you do, but if you genuinely don't believe in your ability to do it, you're not going to be able to do it. It's just going to seem like it's in the distance. So like I said, that includes generally believing in what you're selling. You can't hide behind a sales page when you offer something and hope that all the strategy in the world will make you feel happy and successful. There needs to be a confident, reassured person behind the sales page, ready to slay any people that are interested with her knowledge and her confidence. She needs to believe that her shit is legit, and she needs to trust that, along with her hard work and dedication, that people are coming. Your energy is magnetic. So this leads me to our final exercise for today's masterclass. If you're anything like me, when imposter syndrome took over my life, then you are hearing everything I'm saying and telling yourself that the next level version of you will be different. She will move differently. She will do things in a different way. It's just going to take that next thing, that next client, that next big payment, that next person in their group program, that next purchase of that course or that book. But the problem with this is you're still in the energy of next time, rather than right now. You're still doing and speaking from the energy of next time. Chances are, if you want to put out an offer, you are already estimating the risk for if it doesn't work out. You aren't even playing in the energy of if it actually works out and turns out even better than you hoped. And again, we know this because our brain estimates risk first and foremost, and positivity is kind of left to the wayside. So for this exercise, we're going to do a mini visualization exercise. So if you want to close your eyes, you can, but you don't have to. So you're going to breathe in your nose for a count of 5. And then out of your mouth for a count of 5. And for a couple seconds, I want you to think about how you will feel once that person buys your program, your service, or your product. What does that feel like? Happiness, joy, contentment? Are they feelings of franticness, like, oh shit, now I have to perform? Or are you genuinely elated? Fear is okay, you're up leveling, but somebody wants your stuff and it feels good. So really feel into that emotion of seeing the payment come through in your email, seeing people asking you questions about the program and saying, I need to be in here, or looking at your stuff online and being like, I need to buy this. So you're seeing those payments come in. You know your hard work pays off. What does that look like, all your hard work paying off? And how does it feel? So what emotions keep coming up for you? Now, what thoughts are you having? Are you thinking, wow, I finally did it? Or are you thinking, oh no, I need to do more? What if you thought to yourself, I did it. It feels good. I am experiencing the success that I wanted. How does that make you feel? So just sit in those good feelings for a couple more seconds. Enjoy the feeling of calm after you finish your tasks and the money is coming in. You're being paid what you deserve and it feels amazing. You're ready to talk about your offer more now, right? You're ready to pitch to someone else or talk about a win on your story. Think about how it would feel to have multiple testimonials come in about you or your product. All good things. Sit in those feelings for a second. Okay, you can open your eyes now. So I would encourage you to write down or even just think about what you truly felt when people entered your program, how happy it made you when people paid you because you're good at what you do and you know what you're doing. Uncertainty is normal, fear is normal. It only means you're up leveling and making moves, and your old ways of thinking are starting to make room for your new ways of thinking. So this stuff is really intense, and honestly, there are so many different layers to dealing with imposter syndrome. I did it again. I didn't go over to the next slide. Yeah, so there are so many different layers to dealing with imposter syndrome. We only scrape the surface. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's that much more amplified. So we really dug deep into these 3 ways that imposter syndrome can be ruining your business. So I know focusing on business mindset can feel weird or indulgent or like it's all fluff and useless things like that won't make you money. But if you really dig deep like we just did, what's going to happen if you're not genuinely confident? You could lose a sale. And that means you're losing out on money. So you're leaving money on the table if you think business owners get by on strategy alone. And that's because business owners are real people. They have real emotions, and business is as personal as it gets. If you're an entrepreneur, business can be extremely isolating, especially with the introduction of the social media world and how a lot of you are probably getting clients or hoping to get clients from your social media. This means that we may have a hard time being authentic or speaking our truth because everybody makes it look so great on social media. So it can be really easy to stay isolated and alone when you deal with imposter syndrome because you think, oh my God, if I start telling my followers that I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, what if they don't want to work with me anymore? And again, the crazy thing about imposter syndrome is feeling alone in it and therefore never really talking about it because you're afraid people will find out that you really don't know what you're talking about. And if people hear that they think you're a fraud, what will they think, right? Again, it can be incredibly isolating, but I'm so thankful that social media is starting to become a more authentic space, but there will always be the risk of rejection and failure. And that is something that people with imposter syndrome have a really hard time stomaching. So how do we build sustainable confidence in ourselves and our services? So if you've been watching up until this point, yay, love to have you guys here. It's obvious that this shit is deep work. It's all at the core of our belief system, how we see the world and the way we want to succeed, especially if you own a business. So with that being said, it's time for me to tell you that I have something very exciting to reveal, and that is my 10-week group program for side hustlers and entrepreneurial women, Unsure to Untamed. So ladies, this is for you if you know it's worth your time to invest your time and energy into something to help you with the mindset part of your business. And yes, there will be business strategy as well. I know you want it to be on your time because you have limited time and energy as a side hustler and a full-time worker. Myself, I know both your time, your energy, your money, all of those things are extremely valuable, and that's why I designed this program specifically for you. So like I said before, you may be thinking to yourself that business mindset is self-indulgent. You can get it from a podcast. You can read a book. You think it's a waste of time because it won't make you money. But I didn't start making money until I worked with a coach in a group program. So plain and simple, plain and fucking simple. To employ all of the strategies I was given, I needed to dig deep and reprogram those subconscious beliefs I held about myself, about money, about success, that I didn't even realize were starting to come up as I started my business. The environment of the group program with other women going through the same thing, having a coach at my disposal to bounce ideas off of and learn from, and the investment coupled with that meant that I was dead fucking serious about my success. I had skin in the game. That's what they call it. I was committed to showing up, and my confidence grew significantly because of the consistency and accountability, along with my shifts in my belief system when it came to business, my self-worth, and success. So the woman who needs this program is lacking confidence in her skills and abilities. She feels like an imposter because she's either new to her industry or feels like she doesn't have the right certification or schooling. She's afraid of putting herself on live video, being too forward or authentic with her truth because she's afraid of being rejected by her peers or her family, or that all of her efforts will conclude to nothing. She has a hard time showing up on social media consistently because she's routinely uninspired and unmotivated. She usually has a great idea, but it dwindles over a period of time because she starts to doubt herself. She has an internal negative self-talk that goes over and over again in her mind. It holds her back from doing things she wants to do and taking risks. She often plays smaller than she'd like. Does this sound like you? She wants to eventually turn her side hustle into a full-time gig, but has no idea what that will look like. She's secretly afraid that she won't be able to ever work full-time for herself. She questions whether her programs are good enough for people to pay highly for. She wonders why people would ever hire her when there are other people in her field who are doing the same thing. She's burnt out and has hit her limit emotionally, mentally, and physically. Her to-do list seems endless, and there seems to be no leads appearing anywhere. And if they are, she doesn't feel like they're enough. Damn, these all were me. As I was like writing these out, I was like, oh my God, every single one of these was me. So the woman that you will be at the end of this program, she will have complete clarity on who she serves, how to help them, and she'll feel like the go-to expert in her niche. She'll feel confident in showing up online, pitching her services in any form, either on video or through DMs or email, and fear of rejection or failure will be faint background noise. She is certain that her side hustle can go full-time if she wants and when she wants. She knows she has to work hard for it, but she believes that it will happen really in her heart. And she's not playing small, and her bank account, her confidence, and sales are growing to where she wants them to be. So like I said, guys, this is a 10-week program for a small group of women. It consists of weekly training, journal prompts for integration, and accountability pods. There will be weekly goal-setting calls as well as weekly trainings. So one weekly goal-setting call and then a weekly training, alternating between strategy and mindset. So weekly trainings will cover topics such as your inner child and belief work, so understanding where our core beliefs came from and how we can change them, healing money mindset from ingrained beliefs, masculine and feminine energy, when to operate in which energy, becoming familiar and okay with rejection and failure, making your perfectionism and procrastination work for you instead of against you. And I'm also happy to say that I will be having guest trainings, and that is going to be primarily around people that have the more strategy piece of it. And we're going to talk about your ideal client. We're going to talk about how to not sound salesy when you're pitching. I'm going to help you with the strategy side of it so you can feel good and actually genuinely have that sustainable confidence that will push you through so you don't keep feeling like you want to give up. So let's talk really quickly about the investment. So for the basic, just the group program, it's $1,297, so $1,297 US dollars. And as a special VIP option, I'm offering the group program with 2 one-to-one business strategy coaching calls for eyes just specifically on your business, and that is $1,497. So $1,297 and $1,497. If you want the 2 VIP coaching calls, you get special attention on your business, and 2 one-hour intensive coaching calls, one-on-one, not group ones. That is $1,497. So I always do payment plans for my clients. You can do 1 payment, you can do 10. I'm really flexible when it comes to that. I personally am one of those people that had to do a customized payment plan when I first started out. I had to pay it when I could, but it didn't stop me from investing, and this shouldn't either. So I will say this: if you're on the fence about investing in a program that focuses on your business mindset because you're convinced strategy is where it's at, I used to be there too, but it wasn't until I started working on my belief in myself that I started to make money, because I was putting my whole self into my business without limitation. So I was doing things with confidence instead of fear. And when you come from confidence, your actions are intentional and you are a force to be reckoned with. So if you're live, ladies, and you've made it this far, thank you so much for being here and doing the work today. And if you're ready to dive even deeper and do more amazing work like this, and even more deeper, you'll want to enter my Unsure to Untamed program. I don't know if I said that specifically, but it's called Unsure to Untamed 10-week group program with moi in a private group program. I'll be sending out an email tonight with details about the replay, or tomorrow, or whenever I'm going to get my shit together after this replay. And yeah, I want to hear from you. Please respond to me if you have any questions about the group program or about stuff that we talked about today. And I also would like to say that I am putting out a free discovery call, but that doesn't have to be on Zoom or on video. We can chat through Instagram message or Facebook Messenger. Reach out to me if you're interested in the program. I would love to have you. So again, thank you so much for attending today. I hope to see you love bugs in my group program, Unsure to Untamed. And if not, I hope this masterclass was helpful for you. I have a ton of free content on my Instagram at Northern Resolutions, as well as my private free Facebook group from Imposter to Empowered, which is basically the group for my podcast of the same name, From Imposter to Empowered. And you can find that on iTunes or SoundCloud. So again, thank you so much for you guys being here. If you want more information about Unsure to Untamed, please let me know. It's officially launched. So I'm going to be putting the replay out. And for you ladies here, I'm going to drop you the link in here. So I hope you guys have a great night, and thank you so much.